Chapter 8. Tia strolled down the beach barefoot with his toes wiggling in the sand, while marveling at the sights in the field of finally being back on a planet surface and out of the sterile ship environment. After climbing over a small mound of rocks, 60 appeared on the beach in front of him. Tia ran to hug his friend. They had met and talked many times during the 3-year transit. 60 no longer appeared as this tall, thin alien to Tia, but rather as an older brother and his best friend, someone he could talk with, someone who would listen to him. They walked over to a rock on the beach, and Tia climbed up on the rock as 60 asked him to sit down so they could talk. Tia, my work here has come to an end. It's time for me to move on to another assignment. Tia's face turned to a frown at the thought of losing his best friend. When will you return? It may be a while, but I'm leaving you in good hands. My friend, Extel, is leader of the ship working with your planet to make sure all is okay. I have asked he keep an eye on you to ensure everything is good. I want you to try to make new friends and work hard to learn while I'm away. With tears welling up in his eyes, T looked at his friend, and with a nod of his head, yes, I will try. I will miss you. I will do my best. I know you will. I will stay in touch, and perhaps someday we can travel the stars together. After a hug for the young Taxian, 60 stepped back and in a blink vanished. Chapter 9. 60, the Old One, emerged from the protective area with its sulfur-based atmosphere located on the station. The station orbited above the artificial shales enclosure of the star. The message had already been distributed that initial contact had been made successfully, as Watcher reports from around the universe were starting to be cataloged. Once 60 removed the environmental mesh from his body, this creature of the Old One's race knew work had only just begun. The work to prioritize which information to transfer, while also leaving enough transmission capability to have a respectable two-way information exchange with a specific civilization, had not yet been completed. 60 had requested a tele-swap transport window to travel back to the research facility on the outer shell. The lab which he had just emerged was a facility in orbit beyond the outer shell, placed around the star. 60 proceeded to the transport room and settled in for the short jump. He looked out the window while waiting for the tele-swap. He continued to enjoy the view of the outer shell, which glowed with life. The design of the shell, while not unique, had been built many times before. The Old One's designs had been implemented and around different stars. To 60, the wonder of the master pattern in allowing one such as 60 to reach such heights in evolution made him understand the honor and the responsibilities. 60 had done his required work with lower civilizations and knew the difficult time most civilizations must pass through to have a chance to reach such heights. Unlike the transports between stars, local tele-swap units were like simple rooms. The systems surrounding the room communicated with the receiving port location to ensure no contention with other tele-swaps requesting the same location access. The system drew power from the interdimensional connection, identified the space for swap, and executed the tele-swap transport. Longer trips used tele-swaps with many rooms, including nutrition, rejuvenation area, sleeping quarters, and engineering controls. The massive Old One ships were designed to transport a wide range of life forms. Trips between star systems were not long, but previously consisted of multiple jumps, so the systems could collect and focus power for each jump segment. Because they were in a less dense void where gravity fields were weaker, the collection system took longer, and the process needed to cover larger distances. While time of movement between two stars took less than a normal refresh cycle with the older ships, some trips were much longer as they moved between stars far distant around the galaxy, so minor comforts were accommodated for. 60 monitored new happenings around the galaxy. A new ship design was under construction, which would enable direct jumps anywhere within the galaxy. The fleet now being assembled and nearing completion, would be capable of collecting and focusing energy to a level that was expected to finally enable the galaxy-level jumps. Their larger ships maintained a functional design, not an aesthetic design, but of immense proportions. The look could best be described as a number of rectangular rooms stacked together like children's blocks, some of which were well over 1,000 meters in height, width, and length, with those even larger by factors of 10. These ships had no need to deal with atmosphere entry that required a more sleek design. This massive ship was designed strictly for travel between planets, stars, and now galaxies. The engines were more of a field generator spread throughout the ship. The design was focused on providing strength to hold together given the great stresses. The old ones had no reason to add weapons to their ships. They considered it a waste of time and energy. In case of attack, as they dealt with a new civilization, they maintained a simple ability to block and disrupt any energy beam weapon. For any explosive or kinetic device, they trapped it in a field that shifted it to a region where there would be no danger. In their experience, the old ones trusted these abilities to quickly show the civilization that even their best weapons were no threat for the old ones. In other news, a new tele-swap between ship and planet surface was under distribution. The new pin used the same technology that could be attached to a body covering as well as built into a bodysuit that enabled a single-person tele-swap transport, along with a number of other abilities. The personal transport options accounted for environment or invisibility needs. Other variations of the device allowed tele-swap transport of stacks of gear or supplies in structures. The larger devices included the ability to tele-swap complete physical structures, such as buildings and large sections of the planet's surface. On rare occasions, small shuttlecraft were available to actually fly to the surface. 60 blinked, and the tele-swap was completed. A small swap of the multi-dimensions occurred across the short distance. He found himself on the outer shell surrounding the enclosed star. He left the transport, walked down the hallway, and entered the rejuvenation area for the old ones, where the atmosphere felt warm. In the old ones section, a breeze blew and 60 could absorb nutrients through his skin. It was similar to the atmosphere on their original home planet. After a quick stop to refresh, 60 moved on to an area and settled down for a rest period. 60 had been assigned to the connection machine program as part of the standard rotation. The old one's fate had been tied to an object of the communications. The master pattern had shown 60 at his point of creation to be the broadcaster, and now he was fulfilling his destiny. By the time he reached the shell and entered his research rest location, over 10,000 advanced civilizations' watcher patterns had made contact and been cataloged, indicating that they received the contact calling card. Eventually, millions of civilizations were expected, but at this point they were only looking for the most advanced civilizations of the pattern. Given all the systems, the amount and control rate of information transfer still required work. It was not yet totally solved. The initial broadcast was one way and intended strictly as an attempt to make first contact for a brief period to see if there would be any response. After the contact with races advanced enough to understand was established, more advanced information could be transmitted, and what they hoped would be a complex two-way communication. There were risks, the biggest of which was to possibly alter the path of a civilization in such a way that it could cause danger. Not all civilizations were fundamentally good. Some had not been able to overcome a self-centered nature, and as such were deemed a danger to others. Their prediction from the master pattern showed a 93% chance that over the next 1,000 generations of the old ones, nothing bad would happen from contact and the basic information release. That still left a risk that needed to be watched. With new information, the computations could change, but the community considered it manageable and, given the scope of the effort, acceptable. While the risks existed, it became evident in their detailed study of the master plan that this risk needed to be taken. However, precautions were built into place to ensure that while advanced technology would be broadcast, key advanced capabilities and knowledge of the study of math projecting the future would not be revealed until such time as they could ensure the receivers were not disruptive. This decision was now set as part of the future analysis. Each body, be it a simple life form or a massive body like a star or planet, has a wave pattern, a combination of billions of smaller waves. The wave function is immensely complex and ever-changing, but like life in the universe, it has its own unique pattern. Each leaf, each molecule, each atom maintain both an effect on the planet and is interlinked with the wave pattern of the planet. It is the massive changing interactions of the wave pattern that control the path of evolution, be it a life form, a planet, a star, or a universe. The pattern of the newly built planet contained a unique effect on one of the Taxian life forms, now calling it home. The effect would take time to alter this creature called Tia, but the alterations, once started, formed a chain of events hinted at in the ancient race's master plan math. It was the reason that their computations favored building this new planet, but the effect was deeply hidden, massively obscured, and evaded their advanced understanding. Under the watching eyes of the Old Ones, the Taxian population appeared to be thriving, but then changes were detected. As they continued to adapt to the new planet and its slightly different chemical mix, the survey team reported that the Taxians appeared to be changing, and one of them was showing signs of taking on the traits of a watcher pattern. This created excitement on the communications net, since never before had they seen a new pattern arise in an existing life form. It had always been assumed that the watcher pattern formed at the point of creation. Communications team waited for the results to see if any of the Taxians respond to the watcher's communications. The Taxian of focus had been identified as Tia. So if 60 and the team could communicate with watchers, perhaps, just perhaps, Tia would be in the mix. Follow the continuing series of Tia and 60 through the series Watcher in the Fall. Discover answers of questions brought forth by Yatel's search. Discover Tia's evolving power. Discover 60's great adventure across the universe.